Okay, so for this video, I am already wearing my foundation, streetwear foundation instead of the Ben Nye, and I don't know if you watched the last video, but you can probably actually see that there's a big difference in color in the way that it reads. I prefer the streetwear, to be honest, and I will always prefer it. So anyway, the goal for this video is to just show a couple other contouring techniques, some things that you can do that will help shape your face or define your face however you want to. You don't have to use any of these. You can follow the basic instructions. You can combine these with the basic instructions. It's kind of up to you how you want to do this. I do recommend asking me questions or sending me a test photo if you want commentary before you submit this as your final. But that's just, you know, we with the online situation, we've had to eliminate the practice day where I would normally give you advice in person. And it's really hard for me to give you makeup advice in person when I can't see what you're doing. So we're just gonna go with it. Anyway, so I'm gonna start, I'm gonna work from the forehead down, and in this one, I am going to show you ways to kind of shorten things, right? So if I wanted to shorten my forehead, I could actually take, or give the appearance of a smaller forehead, I can actually take my contour around this top edge. I'm just gonna really go for it with contour because I want this to be more visible. Right, and then I'm just gonna go, and like always, I'm blending this away. My goal is not to have a visible shadow line, it's to just create a shadow, right? So I can add this shadow line in here. Try to get that even. All right, and just by doing that already, I've already started to shorten my forehead. If I want to make my forehead look more narrow, I can actually take my contour right here past this arch, right? So if I bring this past the arch of my brow, and I contour right here, and I do the same thing on the other side. So I'm moving in from the temple area. This is actually going to, what this has done now is it's going to make my forehead look a little bit shorter and a little bit more narrow, a little less wide. And then of course, because you always, always, always highlight and contour together to make this work, I would add my highlight just here. Right in this central area. So what that does is it starts to fake the illusion of a forehead that's less tall and is a little more narrow in its focus. I can do the same with my eyes, right? I can actually, and this is a little bit odd, but I can actually take my contour and I can put my contour in this part of my eye, right in this inner corner. Kind of blend that a little bit. Blend that a little bit. And then I'm actually going to take my highlight and I'm going to put my highlight out here around the outer corner of my eye. And by adding a bunch of highlight out on these outer corners, instead of shadow, and notice how I'm going all the way around the eye. I'm not not just doing the top lid, I'm going underneath. Blend my highlight. I also noticed that I don't really care if this is a little bit messy. The great thing about stage is that you can kind of get away with messy in a way that you can't for film. And I want you to think about the fact that no matter how I do this, no matter what I do, the concept is the same. If I were doing a film makeup, it would be a really neat, super fine application, and I'd be really, really careful about it. And I also would be using hardly any makeup at all. The whole goal would be to be super sheer, versus stage makeup where I can get away with being a little bit messier and I can go with a much heavier application of makeup, although that, again, due to LED lighting, is changing. But the concept itself is the same kind of shadowing, the same kind of highlighting. It's all the same techniques. It's just the level to which you apply it is what changes. So I just want you to remember that as you move forward. So you see how by doing that, I've actually made my eyes look like they're closer to my nose. That's what that does. So if you have really, really wide set eyes and you feel like you want them to look more balanced in your face, this is a way to achieve that. Let's go with making my nose, since we're gonna just shorten my whole face down is what we're gonna do with this. So I'm gonna make my nose look smaller and shorter as well. So, and I think we'll also go for more narrow, right? So I'm gonna actually move my contour. You see drag queens do this a lot. They do that very, very narrow nose. It's just, I guess it's just a makeup fad. I don't really know. I've never really understood it. I will probably never really understand it, but maybe that's just because I like my nose, even if it is a little big. All right. So if I want to make it narrower, what I'm actually doing is I'm drawing my contour lines on top of the bridge of my nose. This can be tough because it's really easy to also make your nose look crooked if you're not careful. So you want to be really careful about where these lines get drawn. Right, but by bringing those in, I'm going to start to make my nose look smaller. And actually connect those up to my brow too, because my goal here is to make my nose look shorter, not longer. So I'm going to connect those lines up toward my brow. I am going to bring the contour over the tip of my nose and down and underneath. And then I also want to make my nostrils look a little more narrow. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to contour a new shadow line on top of my nostrils. And then I'll go back and I will blend that contour, being careful to blend all the way down the sides of my nose now. Blending that tip. It always freaks me out when I do this. I see my face, I'm like, oh my God, that's not me. Right, so that's one thing to really think about when you decide to make these kinds of contouring alterations. Make sure it's an alteration that you actually really want to see on your face, because it can be really weird. Right. I'm gonna do that. And now I have made my nose look smaller, narrower, and shorter. This works for lips too. You can actually contour on your lips. I'm not going to, because I'm not 100% convinced on how well it works. Nah, that's a lie, I'll do a little. All right, so you can do this on your lips too. You can actually contour into your lips. Darker colors are gonna make your lips look more narrow. That contour in here. Just on the corner edges. You see that? The goal is to make my lips look more thin. And then finally, I'm gonna also contour my chin to look shorter, which means I'm actually gonna bring my contour line up onto my chin. A little high there, that's okay, we'll fix it later. Right, so I bring that contour line. I can even do this on my jaw. I can bring my jawline, my jaw contour up over the top of my jaw. And I can contour on top, and that's going to actually make my jaw look like it's a little bit higher. Although you got to be careful because this can also end up looking like 5 o'clock shadow if you do it wrong. The trick when you do these kinds of alterations is you can't veer too far off what's naturally in your face, right? Like I can't move my jaw contour up here, my jawbone's down here. So if I were to move it too high, it's never gonna work. So yes, you can alter your face, but there's only so much alteration you can give before you've gone into an area where it no longer looks as natural as it could. And I'm also applying this really, really heavy because I want you to be able to see it. And I'm not sure how well you can actually see much of this in these videos. Hopefully decently well. Okay. So now by doing that, I'll be on the road to shortening my chin. All right, moving back to the nose, we're gonna add the highlight to help really sell this. So I take my highlight and starting here and only going to here. I'm not going all the way to the tip of my nose. And then I'm just blending that highlight out, being very, very careful to keep it between those two contour lines. All right. So again, selling that illusion that my nose is thinner and smaller. Same here, just gonna add a little bit of highlight right where I want my nostril to be visible. All right, and so then I can give the illusion that I have this shorter, thinner nose. And for the lips, I'm gonna take that highlight and I'm actually gonna move the natural highlight onto my lip. Right, we have this kind of ridge above our lips. If you move that down with highlight, you can effectively reshape your lip. So it's a little bit smaller looking, or if you just want to actually make your peaks more visible or something like that, that's how you would do it, by using that highlight line. All right, and I would do the same thing on the bottom side. Move that highlight actually onto your lip and not underneath it. Right, so like if I was doing a 20s show, I would actually move the highlight onto the lip like that. And then I would go back and I would fill with a little lip color. It's going to make them look smaller. But that's actually how you start getting those bee stung lips that were really, really popular in the 20s. Okay, and then finally, because I've made my chin look shorter and I'm trying to move where my jawline is, I just add a tiny amount of highlight up here. Same over here. I got this jaw contour a little bit high, so I'm actually going to move my highlight on top of it a little bit more. When I was in grad school, we always called highlight the magic eraser because it's kind of a good way to hide some of your contouring mistakes. And then I need that highlight. Instead of on the tip of my chin, it's going to go right there in the crease. All right, and so the goal here, I think you see it best on the nose and the eyes, but it's sort of moving everything inward and squishing it down a little bit. And so that's one of the things that you can do with contouring. And now I will show you the opposite